Hello and welcome to Video Games and the Blockchain. You're watching Crypto Finder TV. I'm your host Chris Stead and we're here to talk about all things video gaming and blockchain. We've got a big show for you today. We're going to talk about big grants for the VR developers in the blockchain space. We're going to talk about Enjin Coin's brand new exciting game. There's that little streaming Xbox console rumor that's going around as well. We're going to touch base on that. As we do every single week, we're going to start here with the biggest news stories we've come across, and we're going to start with Decentraland. Now, Decentraland's a very, very interesting concept. It's been around for a while. It's one of the older, I guess, gaming blockchain players in the market. Now, what they've looked to do is create a kind of a VR space on the blockchain, kind of like a Ready Player One scenario where you go into this environment in VR, you wander around and you come across these different kind of places they call land within the greater world. And on these bits of land, anyone can buy a block of this land, and on this land they can put whatever they feel like. They can put stuff to do with education, they can do stuff to do with games, apps, even gambling's allowed, right? And you buy this like 33 by 33 feet space in Decentraland, and you try and attract people there to socialise, to play, to experience whatever it is that you're doing. That's their whole entire concept. Now, it's underpinned by this cryptocurrency called Mana. Mana's actually been doing quite well. It obviously peaked with everything else in December 2018 and January 2018, the big peak. And when everything crashed, it didn't quite crash as hard as most of the other people in the market. So it's kind of kept an upward trend. And so it obviously had some underpinning of popularity over the last 6 to 7 months. Now, what they're doing though is they're trying to raise more funds to try and get more interest and more people developing products and buying land within this space. So there's more things for people to do, yeah, right? So what they've gone and done is raise a US $5 million, which they're going to give out in grants to VR developers so they can start creating better games and better experiences within the Decentraland land space. Now, the applications for this are open now. They've got some interesting criteria involved. You have to go check the website if you're a developer watching this and you want to get involved, you want to try and get yourself a grant. There are some specifics that they want to do in terms of the kind of what you pitch, and definitely using the Mythereum blockchain or at least being a ERC compliant token that you got in there. Now, they have recommended the following genres as being good fits for Decentraland. We've got scavenger hunts, skill competitions, crafting, parcels as play squares, and loot crate games, which is a bit scary. So the whole entire thing here is about like building scarcity around these little blocks of land. So they're not just going to keep expanding this world. Like each little block of land is worth something, and the experiences that go on there. I'm a little unsure really exactly how this is going to play out. Like from what I understand, that similarly themed bits of land will be grouped together in districts. So I guess you can go in there and explore a certain district with a lot of games in it. And try and just jump between one and the other and see what you're going to try and find. I do have a little bit of footage here that kind of walks those who are not familiar with Decentraland through the product. So watch this and yeah, keep an eye out for some of these developers that are going to be getting grants. So you should see a little boom in VR related blockchain games in the near future, compliments of the Decentraland grant, which is a good thing. Anyway, watch the trailer, see what you think.
What if you could own the virtual world? Create, develop, and trade without limits. Make genuine connections and earn real money. Decentraland, a fully immersive platform powered by the blockchain. Buy land. Design your experience. And transform the way people see the world. Purchase the first ever virtual real estate. Get started today.
Pretty impressive looking experience they're trying to build here. It's not something new, it's been around for a while. You know, I'd really like to see it actually kind of go well. It looks like they're trying something really, really fresh and unique here. So anyway, best of luck to them and best of luck to the developers who get those grants. All right, so moving on to the next news piece of the week, we're looking at Mythereum. It's a collectible card game. It's kind of going into that Magic the Gathering space that we've seen a lot of games appearing in this space because it makes perfect sense in a blockchain-driven experience, because you can own your cards, you can trade your cards, and that entire experience is very much player-driven as opposed to driven by the game. Now, there are a few main differences between this and other ones we've seen before. Notably, it's available to play now. So where a lot of the stuff we've seen and covered on this show previously has been about stuff that is coming, this is actually available to play now. It's browser-based at the moment. I don't know if there's plans for a mobile version in the future. It would be a good fit, you'd think. But anyway, you can play on the browser right now. Now, one of the interesting details it has is it's 4 players. So you've got 4 players in this space, which kind of varies it from the typical 1v1 experiences that we've been playing a lot. And from what I can see and understand, it's going to be a free-for-all. So it's 4 players in a free-for-all environment, not 2 teams of 2 players going at each other. So this is going to create some sort of interesting dynamic with the turn-based nature of the gameplay, where you've got to also, you're not just looking at attacking one player, you've also got to defend from the other players and kind of and manage a strategy that way, which is an interesting diversion. Another kind of difference it has is that it's operating in seasons similar to Fortnite. And so each season will consist of 5,000 cards. And as those 5,000 cards are released, those cards will be sold to players and bought. And once those 5,000 are depleted, we move on to a new season. You will not be able to access cards from the previous season if you don't already own them, other than trading them through the secondary market, which is a really interesting way of going about it. There is a cryptocurrency that underpins it. It's called Mythex. And so this is going to be the kind of in-game currency that you use to purchase and trade these cards. Now I've got a bit of a screenshot here to show you of the game, just so you can see. There's no footage, unfortunately. But here is the kind of cards that we're looking at. Now I'm gonna raise my first kind of I guess issue with this game is that the cards are not specifically, well, not very detailed. As you can see, most of the real estate there on the cards taken up by the archway in the background. We've only got a mugshot with a generic background behind a mugshot for each of those playing cards. This is far below the standard that we've seen with other card collecting games that are coming to the blockchain and just generally in the market as well, like Hearthstone and other things that people are loving and playing. So I think that's something they're going to have to lift their game on. If they're going to do 5,000 cards, they're going to want to move 5,000 cards every single season moving forward. I do understand that they've sold at least 3,000 of the first season. The first season is called Genesis, so the game itself is Mythereum, and the first season is Genesis. And so, you know, that's obviously showing some sort of pickup already. Like I said, the other big thing that's different for this game than we've seen with the other games is it's actually available to play. So if you want to check it out, just go to the Mythereum website and jump in, see how you go, see what you think. All right, on to our third news piece for the week. Now this is quite exciting if you ask me. Lucid Sight, who have been really active in the blockchain gaming space over the last 6 months. In the last couple of episodes, I think we've brought up Crypto Space Commander, which is a really exciting looking space sim, and Cryptic Conjure, which we talked about, I think, 2 episodes ago. So they're very active. They're releasing some really good games. They've actually got a lot of pedigree. They've been around for a while. They've got probably about 15 games under their belt already. So these guys are really pushing at the boundary. Now what they've gone and done is signed a deal with MLB, as in Major League Baseball in the States, the big Major League Baseball. And this partnership allows them to create a kind of like a CryptoKitties style, Ultimate Team style trading experience, using all 30 teams from the MLB as kind of the basis. And then you're going to get these players, you're going to level them up, you're going to train them, you're going to be able to trade them or draft in new players. My understanding is the drafting system is going to be kind of similar to the breeding system in CryptoKitties, in that you're going to get these kind of abilities you build on one player and abilities you build on another player, put them together and see what comes out the other side. The mobile version will be coming in the future, which I think will be a big factor in whether this game takes off. It's browser-based at the moment, but a mobile version will make this go big. I had a look at some of the numbers just in the World Series alone last year. It pulled in 19 million viewers. So there's a big audience who are invested in MLB, and if these big audience also then dives into this blockchain-based game, there should be a significant audience there. There should be some significant scarcity in the available of the various creations that people make, and there should be an opportunity for players to really have some fun trading around. Now, you can, we're told, level up through play. What I don't know is how that play actually folds out. Are you actually going to be like, you know, swinging at a ball? Or is it kind of more that you're rolling the dice in the background by playing certain cards that have certain abilities and building out a team and putting them on the park and seeing which team wins based on the various abilities and stats, and a bit of dice rolling in the background? So that is kind of an unknown. I hope they make that part of it really exciting and not such just to rely solely on the trade side of it and solely on the kind of breeding side of it, and actually have some really fun, engaging, stats-driven kind of like Football Manager style experience in the background that you get to dive deep into. The good news is that we do have some footage to show you, so check out the trailer. This is the MLB, it's called MLB Crypto Baseball is the name. It's by Lucid Sight, and it should be out by the end of the year. Check it out. So there you go, that's MLB Crypto Baseball. Looks exciting, should bring in a good audience to the blockchain gaming scene. All right, so on to the next news piece. We've got BitGuild's new ERC. Now, BitGuild is kind of they call themselves a platform built by gamers for gamers. These guys, there's a few of these things around, like admittedly. So this is a platform in which players will actually own their games, be able to trade their games, be able to train items in game within this platform. Plat is the token that they're using. They've got a new game that they're working on called Citizens, which is it's a bit vague really from what I can see so far about what it's actually going to play like, but it looks very much like a Sims style experience, more of a socializing vehicle. Probably, I'm assuming, it's a way that you can create an avatar that exists within the BitGuild platform and go around and talk in this space to other players and trade and do whatever you want through an avatar. It's got some really deep creation tools that you can see in the image there about how you can craft your player. I think the idea is that you kind of craft a player that's like you to exist in this world. I don't know, I personally wouldn't. It's not exactly the prettiest picture you've ever seen, so I'll probably build something different. But that's the kind of concept we've got between Citizens. But what's more interesting about Citizens is, and what the news is for this week, is that they've come out, BitGuild, and said that they're going to have a new ERC standard that they want to bring into the greater environment through this game. They're calling it ERC 998. And where this differs from the 721 standard that we've seen and also the ERC 20 standard we've seen is that it looks to, the difference between those two standards is that the ERC 21 is kind of like this irreplaceable single entity that, it's not, that's the opposite. That's ERC 721 is the kind of irreplaceable thing that can't be split up into smaller pieces. So we use this a lot in games because we use it to have characters or epic swords or things which can't be changed or muted but can be traded as a whole. Then the ERC20 token, which is the one we see that's used in Bitcoin, all that type of stuff, can be split down. It's good for trading ammo or things like that, where you have may have 200 of a 500 batch you might want to shift onto someone. So the problem is with a lot of video games and is that those two standards tend to want to clash against each other, not really work. So the ERC 998 thing is trying to apply this new system whereby you have this kind of single entity like a character, but you can add things on top of it which can be split down stuff, for example, wardrobe or loot, things like that, for example, jewelry or everything you want to dress up your sim. What's most interesting about this is that this is the second week in a row I've spoken to you about a new ERC standard that's coming out, because Enjin Coin came up with a new one about 2 weeks ago called the 1155 standard. They're trying to do the same thing. Their whole approach is to create this system, this token where you can trade in volume either ERC 721 style things and ERC 20 things on exactly the same transactions to reduce, I guess, the pressure that's put onto the entire network when they're trying to do transactions. So when you're trying to trade massive things, like in an MMO, for example, where there might be tens of thousands of gamers trying to trade multitude of things at once, this allows you to kind of pile those things up and together and behave as both. So we've now got these two competing new standards, purpose-built for gaming in the space. So that's one of what Citizens is going to be quite interesting, because it's going to be the test case for this one, whereas we're going to talk to you in a second about Enjin Coin's upcoming projects as well, which they're going to be putting into the space to kind of pitch their ERC standard. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm going about BitGuild and you just want to learn a bit more about it, we do have a little bit of a video here that'll take you through what BitGuild is trying to be. And we're going to roll that for you right now.
This is you, the gamer. Like most gamers, you just want to press play and get right into the action. But you're getting tired of all these annoying restrictions in your games. More and more, developers and publishers are pushing unfair systems on you, designed to produce minimum effort content for maximum profit, at your expense. To solve this, we created BitGuild, a platform built for gamers by gamers, that puts the control back into the hands of players and forever changes the way the gaming world works. Say you've got a very special sword in your favorite game. You love your sword, and your sword loves you. The problem is that all games must come to an end eventually, right? Maybe the servers are shutting down, or perhaps you just want to play a different game. What happens to your sword then? Currently, it disappears. Forever. Bye, sword. But not anymore. On BitGuild, you can take that sword with you into another game. You can display it as a memento, or even sell it. It's all up to you. With BitGuild, all in-game assets, items, and accounts exist on the blockchain, which means ownership belongs to you, the players. Pair this with an affordable, open marketplace where players can easily and safely trade with others, and you've got something with the potential to change games as we know them. No longer will you have to play in the shadow of greedy publishers as they control your fun with overbearing terms of service agreements that seem like they were written by an evil corporate overlord, forcing abusive virtual currency systems into your games, controlling your items and accounts, just to prey on your love of games for their profit. All our games will utilize smart contract technology and accept Plat as a payment method. Game items will be tokenized, making them player-owned and tradable. And unlike old-school cryptocurrency wallets, our wallet allows for the visual display of item tokens as well as Plat. It's more like an inventory than a wallet. Get, buy, sell, trade, and own your virtual items, for real, with BitGuild. Take back your games and join the guild.
Okay, so that was BitGuild, and now you know everything you need to know about BitGuild. Okay, so I've been joined in the studio by Brody Fogg, who's the games expert here at Finder, to take you through our fifth and final news piece for the day, which is quite exciting. It's 9Lives Arena, it's called. Now, the reason why this is particularly exciting is because it has been done by Enjin Coin. Now, Enjin Coin, I was just talking to you about it. The guys have got that new ERC standard that they're trying to push into the market. They've also been a major player in the blockchain gaming space over the course of this year. They're at E3 with their game War for Crypto. They've got about 20 million user base already from their existing Enjin platform, which is kind of like a social hub space where various groups of players or guilds get together and can communicate with each other. They've got a couple of games that they've been pushing in the pipeline. They've just signed on these guys called Touch Hour. And they're releasing this game called 9Lives Arena. Now, it's been the team involved in the game have been involved with Nokia Engage in the past. Yeah, I had one of them. And they've also got the art director was involved with the EA for a number of years. So they've got a bit of we've got about 20 years worth of experience behind them. On top of that, the game itself is looking like being a multiplayer online player versus player RPG. It's coming to PC, Xbox, and PS4, so we're talking serious console business here. And it's got a companion app as well that deals with the iOS. Brody, you had a look at the trailer? What did you think when you first saw it?
It's definitely one of the most polished titles we've looked at so far.
Yeah.
And like it's, it kind of had a. Did you play Absolver last year?
I did.
That's the vibe I got from it. Kind of like random encounters and one-on-one sort of battles, and like an art style that's sort of similar to a lot of popular like Dota and that sort of stuff floating around at the moment. So yeah, I think look, if it's more of that down the line, and I think it's probably one of the most promising titles that we've seen so far on this show. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have that cell shaded kind of look that Absolver's got, but it definitely has that kind of melee combat and also that ability to kind of throw a bit of spells. Yeah. We're going to actually we'll bring up a screenshot for you now. We'll just talk you through what we've seen. So I snapped this from the video that we're going to show at the end of this news segment, but you can see there a bit of motion blur and the guy with a sword hacking some dude's head off. You can see it's two players involved here. We've got 3 different energy bars. I'm going to assume, Brad, I don't know what you think, but I'm going to assume one of those is hit points, one of those is mana, maybe stamina.
Yes, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and down the bottom you can see a run there of cooldowns. So these are magic abilities, buffs, health, some sort of things like that, I suspect. We've got another shot we'll show you as well, which kind of looks at some of the, I guess, the way that you can deck out your characters. So there's a fair bit of customizability here, different, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things you can customize your warrior with, and a fair arsenal of things to the side. I also saw a different skill tree image at one point that showed a lot of magic that you can level up through.
I gotta say, Steady, at least 2 or 3 of those icons down the bottom look almost totally ripped from World of Warcraft.
They do, absolutely. But if you're going to rip from the best.
Exactly right. Why not?
So I'll tell you a bit more. It's kind of what's making this stand out, what's making it a blockchain-based game is this 9Lives concept. So the way it operates is that you have only 9 lives as any character you create. Okay. And there's a permadeath at the end of that. So it's a persistent character that levels up through these levels up as you play, and you just deck out, and you're constantly evolving and making unique. But after you die more than 9 times in the arena against other players, that's it. Your character's dead. The character might be dead, but it lives forever on the blockchain. So you'll have a kind of this gravestone, I guess, this digital gravestone for this character that was this mighty thing. But there's, I guess, there's a bit of a strategy there onto how far you want to take a character. So if you've actually gone and, because there's a whole training segment where you go and you lift weights and you pump up your dude and a bit of kind of all that customization we were talking about before. And then when you go into this arena, you fight, and in the process of winning, you get to level up your character more. So it's kind of like Gladiator, you know, where if you can go in and you're the last man standing after 100 battles, your character's going to be pretty pimp. So do you retire?
Right.
Do you try and trade him and sell him off to someone else because it's a blockchain after all, so you can make money out of it? Or do you go and just keep pushing it and see how far you can do that 9? Yeah. Push it to that 9th life. So
that permadeath system is really interesting.
Yeah,
isn't it cool? There are a few games in development at the moment that are similar. Like there's this first-person shooter one where it's I think it's called One Life, and it's you play it through once, and if you die, that's it. Your account is forever seen as like, you know, you're locked out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you can kind of trade. If you set up a second character and then have like some main that you're driving all the way up, and then be able to siphon off extra stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, trade it to yourself.
Yeah,
you know, and try and get a whole kind of posse of gladiators rising up through the ranks and stuff like that. But yeah, the game itself is looking a lot, like you said, a lot more polished. Kind of also reminded me a bit of kind of not Mass Effect, but like kind of like Elder Scrolls, even just as in that 3D way that it moved, and this, but a lot faster. So it's real-time combat. Yep. A lot of dodge rolling and jumping out of the way. It's obviously a fair way along. So we probably don't have to wait too long. I'm really excited as well that this is a multi-format release. So how these characters persist across platforms. And how it's got a chance to kind of reach a bigger audience. Yep. You know, I think there'll be a lot of people who want to jump into this and test their mettle, see how far they can get 9 lives.
For sure. And as you said, like it's definitely one of the most polished ones we've seen so far. So I think we'll probably be seeing more from it pretty soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these guys, Lucid Sight, they're really pushing the needle. And this is not the only game they've got in the wings, which is looking really good. We've spoken about a few before. So we're going to roll this trailer. Oh, actually, I haven't touched on this on the companion app. So there's a companion app. This is a really interesting concept they've got going. So on a mobile device, iOS or Android, you have this thing called an Oogie, which is like this little gnome-like creature who goes out and fossics for resources and does all these things, does all these kind of chores for your character while I assume you're not playing. This could be a really elegant solution that they've got for kind of upholding the blockchain and kind of mining in the background. Is your iPhone or your device has this little dude in it you send out to do these little tasks, and while he's doing that, he might be upholding the blockchain, right? Kind of lending some of your computational power to do that, but then you're rewarded for that when you get back in the game and you find, oh, I've got this many more resources, I can craft this many more things, I can build this many more items or whatever, because this guy's been out doing his dirty work for you on the way.
Sure, yeah.
So there's a little bit more to understand about that concept, but that's part of it as well. Did you see anything about that, Oogies?
Yeah, I did. I looked over it briefly, and again, like another World of Warcraft comparison, but that was their companion app with the last big update with base building introduced that. So you're collecting resources while you're away. We had people in the office who had jumped back into WoW, and you'd hear the swords clang notification like every 10 minutes, and they'd be checking their phones to see who's what they've gathered in the meantime. And so I think it's a great idea, and especially if if it is leveraging the blockchain, as you said, that's an interesting.
Well, if they're making, as long as it's engaging, it's fun. I mean, I do hope that you are able to progress in the game without too many problems not using the companion app.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we've all got smartphones nowadays, but not everyone wants to burn their battery, having this thing running in the background all day. So I hope you can progress in the main gameplay without having to use the companion app. That would be a big thing for me.
Could you see any issues with the news we spoke about a few weeks ago about
Apple?
Yeah. Which makes me wonder how many people have been putting work into this and to have that kind of pop
potentially be burned. Yeah. Well, I mean, all it stops is you from mining specifically on the Apple device.
Yes.
So you can, I guess, push people off to a cloud-based mining server.
Sure.
And it's not mining on an Apple device, which is actually probably preferable, because then the cost is of battery life and everything is kind of removed.
Yep.
And it's just kind of pinging in the cloud. but we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, we're going to show you a bit of a gameplay trailer game so you can see what we've been waffling on about. And I hope you're excited about it as we are. Rolling that trailer now. So that's 9Lives Arena. I hope you can agree with me. It's looking pretty good and doesn't look that far off, does it? Hopefully by the end of the year. I'll see if I can get a release date for you by the next episode. Now, we're going to talk a bit about just gaming in general. Mate, have you been playing anything?
Yeah, actually, not to double up on games on this podcast, but last time we sat down, you suggested a game called Semblance.
Ah, yes.
And as soon as you started talking about it, you made the Loco Roco comparison. I was like, I played a lot of Loco Roco on the PSP, and so I was instantly, interested. And I finally got around to playing it this week on Switch, and it's fun. It's very, very simple. They use the simple mechanic well. So basically, the idea is you're a little blob, and the puzzles that you solve involve manipulating the environment around you. So you'll jump up into a sort of structure and make a little ramp for you to jump over.
Yeah, it's all about a Play-Doh, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like a Play-Doh world. I'm kind of at the stage with it now where I'm like, I want to see them do a little bit more with that mechanic. I kind of, whenever I run into an obstacle, I get a little bit over bashing my head into a wall, trying to figure it out over and over again. So yeah, like nothing really with that mechanic has kind of been like amazed me so far, where there was something I wasn't expecting. But regardless, it's a very calming and fun experience. Once you do get the puzzle and it clicks, it's super rewarding at times. And it's a two-man studio out of South Africa. They just started in 2015. Yeah,
a couple of contractors, but I think it's just two guys.
Yeah,
we pretty much did it all. So yeah.
Yeah, really, really impressive work. And so that'll be my weekend, I think, just burning through
Getting into that.
Yeah.
Well, I've been playing an indie as well called Sleep Tight. Now this is out of a developer called We Are Fuzzy, and it's an interesting mashup. It's bit tower defense, it's a bit base building, and it's a twin stick shooter style experience. And it's just an example of a really, really simple gameplay loop just executed perfectly.
Right.
And so you play this kid, right, who every single night has to fend off the monsters that come into his bedroom, right? And so you've got this kind of top-down view where you've got this rug in the middle, and you've got these 4 little resource points on it, and kind of day rolls into night, nighttime comes along, monsters start coming out, it's twin stick shooting, you're going around, you're shooting these guys that come out of the shadows everywhere. And as you do that, you earn these stars and you earn these suns. You earn 8 suns for completing a wave. And then the next, then daylight arrives, and you've got to spend those 8 suns before the next night starts. Right. And you can spend them on ammo, health, but you can also start building a pillow fort or turrets and stuff like that, right? And so as you kind of get more of these suns and more of these stars. The stars are used to kind of spend on research, and you unlock like better turrets, explosions, stronger pillow forts, and start placing them around the world and trying to like funnel bag like the bad monsters into where you're going, and then the next wave starts and you fight off the next wave and you come back in. You got to try and balance your ammo and your health, and working out where to spend on defense and where to spend on attack, and it just changes the way you approach every single night.
Yeah, nice.
Because depending on how you went the go forward, and sometimes you just got to run around in circles and just try and survive because you run out of ammo, and hope that you got enough turrets set up and that. And as you kind of progress, you unlock new kids, and the new kids kind of upscale the difficulty for different kind of run throughs. And it's just really simple concept. It's just really well designed.
Excellent.
And haven't overreached themselves. And it's kind of like, you know, that game Overcooked.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of Overcooked in that, but there'll be a Sleep Tight 2, and they've got so much scope to level it up, like, and have like, you know, whole different forts, different monster types, like 2-story bedrooms. Like, there's just so much room for growth in this concept. But they haven't overreached for the first one. I've really enjoyed playing it. I think it comes out today.
All right. I love that idea of like juggling responsibilities. Is it a 2-player?
No multiplayer. That's the other big space where it can go up. I could imagine. I'd love to be in that like a bigger room with 2 dudes. Actually, we've got a screenshot. I'll just bring up a screenshot for you. You can describe it for you there. So you can see there, like this player's got some pretty serious turrets organised. 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top. We've got he built a U-shaped pillow fort, so he's got only 1 access entry. The monster AI is such that if they see you, they'll come after you. If they don't, they'll just start bashing up your fort. So you kind of got to lure them out and in by ducking out of your protection.
Right.
And you can see at the end of the rug there, you can see the 4 different stations that you can go buy things at during the day. So you've got your health in the corner, you've got your weapons in one, you've got your ammo in another, and you've got your research in another as well. So that's what the game, that kind of summed up the experience. It's just all unfolds in this one screen.
Excellent.
So plenty of growth for this game. I am going to show a quick trailer of it because I like it that much. So if we can just roll that trailer, here is Sleep Tight by We Are Fuzzy out today.
Every parent tells their child that the monsters aren't real. But how come every kid has the same story?
So that's out on PC and Switch. Like I said, definitely worth a look. Now to talk to some super interesting rumour that's going around that Microsoft's going to release 2 consoles at the start of the next generation. One's going to be the standard type of console we're used to experiencing over the last couple of generations. The other one's just going to be a streaming box going by the code name Scarlett Cloud, as it currently stands. Now, the reason why we're excited about this is because if you caught our episode a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft has already implemented blockchain into its Xbox ecosystem. All the royalty payments that go to the developers are all handled by the blockchain already. Ubisoft has jumped on board as a partner. They're trialing out a way of handling their royalties through the Xbox Azure cloud. Now we're starting to see the next kind of step on this same discussion path, which is the movement towards a full streaming-only console, which surely will further make use of this blockchain tech, which we know they're experimenting with. Now, you've been following the story. What was your initial reaction? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, initially, Steve, like, you know, over the weeks, kind of coming in here and talking with you, I've gone from obviously somebody who knows nothing about the blockchain and kind of not really seeing how all the pieces fit together. And when this was first announced, my first thought was like, it's all kind of coming together. Everything we've discussed about Microsoft Azure, like, and as you just mentioned, like their payments to indies and all that sort of stuff. And it feels like this is kind of like the big piece to bring it all together. I mean, broadly, like, I just think it's a fantastic idea. So, you know, both Microsoft and Sony last year went for the, you know, standard release to a premium option, the the mid-generation launch.
The Pro and the Xbox One X.
Exactly. Whereas this is best of both worlds, but more not really saying to somebody, hey, here, like, fork out the extra money for the premium version. It's saying, like, you're giving all your options on the table at once and saying, hey, if you just want the, like, economic stream-based, like, console that's going to be cheaper, still runs at 1080p, like, it's, you know, great console.
It's going to be a cheaper buy-in, from my understanding. So the concept here is that there's the main Xbox, well, the Xbox 4, or Xbox 2, I've heard some people call it, TWO. That's going to kind of be your standard, like, $400, $500 price point, or whatever we're used to expecting now. Whatever PlayStation sets out as well, it'll be in that ballpark. And then there'll be this cheaper version, which is going to be considerably less, not be really cheap, because it's still to deal with the latency issue, which has been, I guess, the big bugbear of getting these streaming boxes off the line with gaming, which has to have such fast reflex inputs. They're going to have some computational power available so that they can handle things like hit detection, graphics, and the user inputs, and the rest streaming elsewhere. So it's still going to have a cost, but then it'll have some sort of subscription.
Yes.
Right. So while it might be cheaper to come in initially, over the course of, say, a 5-year, 6-year, 7-year generation, assuming generations continue, it could end up costing you a fair bit more. Yeah,
right, sure. There's been some like recent updates on the rumors that suggest there's a mid-tier option as well. So you've got your streaming box, your 4K high-end option, and then basically just the standard release, like, I suppose, which would be, like, you know, the 1S equivalent of that generation.
Yeah, right.
So 3 tiers now, and I don't know. For me, I feel like that's maybe complicating it a little too much. Yeah. It just gives, like, by 2020, most of us are going to want the 4K as the standard.
Yep.
Not the premium option.
Oh, someone will have 8K in it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so we'll see. But I'm really excited about the streaming box idea because, you know, Phil Spencer has been banging on about, like, Netflix for games for so long now. I suppose my only concern there is, will the streaming box be any worth to Australians with our current broadband situation? Like,
well, the NBN's supposed to be complete by 2020.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. You know, I feel what you're saying on the whole concept of having 3 different tiers. I mean, we've seen this generation after generation now, and it's just always a mission. Yeah. You know, we had the Connect version and the non-Connect version.
Exactly.
That? And we had the version with a hard drive and the version without a hard drive back on the 360 era.
That's right.
And it just buckled the developers because you basically got to develop for the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
So you got to scale everything back.
Yeah.
So as long as they've got tiers, and those tiers are just a seamless network, it doesn't matter which one you're using. You're playing exactly the same video game experience.
Exactly.
Then it should be okay.
Yeah.
And then you guys get your messaging right, don't you? I mean, if you say Netflix for gaming, I mean that's going to penetrate the mainstream pretty effectively.
Exactly right. Yeah. But so long as it is very transparent, and as you just mentioned, like the 360. What was the name of it without the hard drive? Whatever they called that. Well, the Xbox Elite had the hard drive, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember the story like clear as day. It'll be parents going in to buy an Xbox 360 and picking up, of course, you know, the cheaper option with no hard drive, and then people being like, "Oh, I got to upgrade now." Like instantly. 2 weeks later,
yeah, or can't play half the game.
Yeah,
and they had to put everything on the disc, and they couldn't. Yeah.
It
was a drama. Now, if we look back at E3. And with this kind of rumour now surfaced, and it is a rumour, by the way, it's unconfirmed, this Scarlett Cloud, it's just rumour. There was plenty of pointers during that E3 conference to this future.
Yep.
And I recall recall a lot of talk about Gamer Pass and that Netflix for gaming. We've seen Gamer Pass step up considerably in the last, I guess, 6 months.
Yep.
Day and date releases and so forth. There was a talk, I recall, on that E3 conference, correct me if I'm wrong, about Phil Spencer saying he wanted Microsoft Xbox on every format.
Yeah.
Remember that? I think EA said a similar thing as well, and I think they had a mobile device up on the screen, and they're playing like Forza or something on a mobile device.
Yes. Yeah.
Which ties perfectly into the streaming concept.
Yep.
And they've been slowly buying Azure data centers all around the globe. And I remember I've got some mates who work in the space of buying the hardware up for Microsoft, and they dropped a lot of cash on putting a data center in Sydney, and we're the back end of the world.
Yep.
So there's a lot of data centers around now to handle this type of stuff. They're testing it out now with their royalty payments. Ubisoft's obviously seen enough to go, hey, we want in.
Yeah.
It's going to save us money. So I guess that when you look at all these pointers and now this rumor coming up now, it's just pointing more and more and more, to me anyway, it's pointing more and more towards a future where the in-game economy or the ecosystem economy is also driven by the blockchain. You can call it cryptocurrency if you want, doesn't matter what you call it, but it's going to be driven by the blockchain, and potentially will actually retain ownership of our characters, our games, and have some sort of secondary market. Because the secondary market at the moment in gaming is worth about $50 billion.
Yeah.
And that's like just really, this is the very start, the tip of the iceberg. So for a console developer to step into that space and take ownership of it and try and be a part of it, like that's a huge install base they can get straight away.
Yeah.
And they need something because they're getting blown out of the water.
Well, that's it. Look, I would absolutely love it if this story became like, Microsoft's focus on hardware over the last 2 years and basically completely neglecting games has been like their long game. And if their end game is something like that people can't ignore, like I'd say hats off. Like
I'm not saying Microsoft's put their hands up in the air and given up on this generation by any stretch, but we saw Nintendo do it with the Wii U.
Yeah.
And they just, in the end, it was a transition console.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Xbox One is a great console with a lot of great games, and I've really enjoyed playing it this generation. But considering what the PS4's done, and it's been pushed out with like PlayLink and VR, and where they've kind of had success, and Microsoft, I kept waiting for Microsoft to like partner with Oculus or do something, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
But you can see that they're building to something that's a new way to play.
Yeah.
And this rumour, while currently unconfirmed, just fits too perfectly with every other thing that we've been hearing out of Microsoft.
Definitely.
And we have speculated previously on this show, and there's some articles up on the Finder.com website about PlayStation zeroing in on a November 2020 release for the PS5.
Yep.
So we're probably looking at about 18 months away from a new generation.
Yes.
Which means Gamescom's coming up in a little bit. Will we see anything there? Probably not, but maybe E3 next year, definitely.
For sure. Yeah, I think so. It's interesting to me. I have a friend who messaged me 2 days ago asking if he should buy the Spider-Man PlayStation 4 Pro.
It looks kick-ass, doesn't it?
It does look real nice, but I was like, whoa, you might only have it for 18 months or so. Like, we'll see. And I wonder if this is kind of if this is it, the full suites, 4K, powerhouse console, standard, cloud-based, was mid-generation consoles like a bit of a failure? And is that the last we'll hear of it, sort of thing?
Well, you'd have to think that if they start moving to a streaming service in the next generation, they're probably going to be completely streaming by the generation that follows.
Yeah.
Surely this is kind of like just stepping into the waters. I mean, I know there's a lot of places in the world right now that could quite easily go into streaming right now.
Yeah.
But obviously places like Australia and many others just aren't up to don't have the network capacity and bandwidth to do that yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we're looking at 2027, 2 generations from now, by that stage, surely,
yeah,
we can start using these services properly.
Yeah, exactly.
But Netflix has shown that you can absolutely launch a streaming service in here and pound out HD quality stuff without too much problems if you've got a network that can deal with it.
Yeah.
And I think Microsoft's got the network to deal with it now.
Right.
I don't know if Sony has. But anyway, super interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we're going to keep following this Scarlett Cloud story as it develops. We might even throw a few opinion pieces up on the website as we pick the bones out of the rumours that are surfacing over the last 24 hours to 36 hours. It's fresh stuff that's going down right now. So that's pretty much it for our episode this week of Video Games and the Blockchain. Brody, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We are going to leave you guys with a bit of a video. Now, this is for a super game chain, it's called. Now, we have spoken a lot on this show about these players that are coming into the blockchain space, trying to be the be-all, end-all platform for video game distribution and crowdfunding and ownership of titles and all this type of thing. There's a lot of them out there. This is another one. This is, pre-warn you, this is the video that they did for their ICO pitch. But we are in no way suggesting that you should or shouldn't invest in this. Do your own due diligence. Have a look. Like I said, there's a lot of players in the market right now. But if you're interested to hear about what Super Game Chain's approach to it all is, we're going to leave you with this trailer. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
What's going on, everyone? It's Mr. Larry C with ICO Genius, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be showing an introduction to the Super Game Chain ICO. They're looking to bring every game to the blockchain, so let's go ahead and get started. Super Game Chain's mission is to unleash creativity and innovation to the gaming marketplace. Now, they want the gamers to feel involved in the creation of games, as well as want game developers to not only raise funds, but also feel validated for their work, as well as to be connected to their user base. Now, their focus is to craft an organic game ecosystem built for indie developers, users, as well as advertisers. For developers, they can raise money for the development of their project by bypassing the expensive publisher model. Now, devs will also use Super Game Chain to connect to their community and be reviewed by gamers and advertisers alike to make a cohesive ecosystem. Now, their gaming ecosystem is also going to allow gamers to invite, interact, and also gift tokens to other users. Now, for advertisers, this platform will provide a native and natural setting for users to experience ads that are actually relevant to them. So what's the current problem with the gaming indie market? There's an oversaturated and competitive market in modern gaming. It's become much more difficult to raise the funds for small game dev teams to actually finish what they're doing. Now, payments are also difficult, and fraud and advertisement makes the cost of development too high to keep the studio afloat, more or less to be competitive with bigger studios. So what is the Super Game Chain solution to these problems? Now, first and foremost, they're working with the established quantum development team, and they're going to be implementing the Lightning Network to minimize potential problems. Now, they're also using AI to connect players and games more efficiency and also to reduce development advertising costs. Now, the Super Game Chain will work cross-platform with both the Unity engine as well as the Unreal engine, and that will allow a swift development and also the utilization of blockchain within the SDK themselves. They're never going to have to leave the engine. For developers, this is an awesome ecosystem. Now, there's also going to be a social sharing aspect, which is very prominent in the gaming ecosystem, so players will be able to share their experiences across all social media platforms. So additionally, the whole thing is going to be open source. So the Super Game Chain will open up all the source code on the platform, making all the core data open and transparent for the development team. There's also going to even be affiliate rewards there. So that way, super players or people that play professionally on Twitch can share their affiliate links and get tokens as a reward for bringing people into this cohesive ecosystem that allows everyone to connect. So a lot of the focus on the gaming-based ICOs is going to be on the trading of actual items and not on the fulfillment of helping devs themselves. So Super Game Chain is looking to foster this global ecosystem that allows developers the resources, the tools, and the community to bring everything and their games to a reality. So what games do they currently have in the pipeline? So the core games that they're looking to launch with is going to be Galaxy Factions, Monster Metropolis, and Clash of Magic, and those will launch on Q2 of 2018, with Soul Survivor scheduled to launch in Q3 of 2018. So they even have a wallet that's already ready to go. So it's going to be already deployed on Android with an iOS version coming soon. Now we're going to take a more in-depth look in our next video on the wallet, but go ahead and download it and receive some free SGC tokens by doing so. So now let's dive in and look at the token sale. Now the ticker for Super Game Chain is going to be SGC. It's going to be an Ethereum 20-based token. The total supply is going to be 20 billion, and the soft cap is 20,000 ETH. The hard cap is 60,000 ETH, and 1 ETH is a total of 75,000 SGC tokens. As far as the distribution goes, 30% is going to go to the ICO, 20% to the team, 30% to users, games, and apps, and then 20% to the ecosystem building. Well, thanks for tuning in today for this introduction to the Super Game Chain ICO. The global ecosystem for game developers is very complex and competitive and has a high cost. By completely removing the publisher model, indie developers can actually get a game to market and find funding while connecting with their user base. It's going to be an interesting ecosystem that we're going to discover more in their in-depth video, where we're going to take a look at the team, the white paper, and really dig into this project some more. So make sure you jump into their website, check out their white paper, and join their Telegram. And while you're at it, join our Telegram in the description below. That way you'll be up to date on everything we're doing in the ICO Genius community, including daily giveaways and weekly lotteries where you can earn things like the Super Game Chain token. Well, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. That way you're up to date on all of our recent videos, and we will see you in the next in-depth video. Cheers.